Here we have two entirely different worldviews on display. One believes that unless the government department expands beyond the original scope or what is constitutional, we will live in anarchy. The other worldview says that government agencies should be limited and constitutional. These two worldviews are directly at odds with each other. The swamp opposes anything that limits its power. Do not forget that a government big enough to give you everything is big enough to take it all away. Let me break Ms. Sorensen's drivel down a bit. I find the idea of someone who expands government being called a reprieve of authoritarianism quite hilarious. Democrats are talking out of both sides of their mouths with this one. Out of one side, Donald Trump is a fascist who will use the government as a weapon, despite never doing this before. Out of the other side, he is cutting government power that will lead to anarchy. You cannot have it both ways. The media continued to call President Trump Hitler and a fascist without any evidence. Also, a democracy was not at risk because we never lived in a democracy. We live in a republic. People were upset about the imaginary isms that the fake news created out of thin air. You have every right to exist, and no one will stop that. Call me when the FBI monitors you for speaking out at a school board or for going to church. In the meantime, these people will have the same rights that they had previously. However, they must respect the life, liberty, and property of every other person. I disagree, Ms. Sorensen. We succeeded despite baseless attacks by the Democrats. The American people wanted nothing to do with big government. Miss Sorensen just loves her drivel. This is a false equivalency. Democrats that want the government to do every job under the sun, even if it is unconstitutional, have no place to argue. People are more concerned about feeding their families than whatever imaginary ism the Democrats have come up with today. In truth, if we got the red tape out of the way and limited government, the prices of eggs and most goods in general would go down. In a way, the Constitution kept egg prices low, but government raised them. So a false comparison. What would make you think that President Trump would deport his supporters? If he really is the fascist that Mr. Jones imagines him to be, he would only deport his detractors. Only those who are here illegally will be deported. I highly doubt that all of the illegals that came in under Brandon supported President Trump. And tackling Kamala did not do anything to stop the illegals either. I see the nameplate was changed over before the shift in administration. The precautions taken during the Black Plague were not based in research. Just like half of the recommendations of Flip-Flop Fauci. Once RFK takes over, we can put the scientific method back on the table. Well, that is an awfully bold accusation, and I trust that this cartoonist has some proof. While that non-existent proof is gathered, there are a few facts to look at. RFK will not be sending money to a virology lab in Wuhan to make viruses more deadly, and he will not tell people to take a drug while falsely claiming that it will stop the spread. He will also understand that you do not overreact to the common cold just because the media told you to. Of course, President Lincoln had his mind blown. He was an authoritarian who suspended habeas corpus and targeted journalists who disagreed with him. He must be so shocked that President Trump never once wiretapped the Associated Press or took The View off the air. He must be doubly shocked that cabinet positions are based on limiting government rather than growing it. Lincoln was not that great of a president. After all, he was no Donald J. Trump. Every department needs to be severely limited. And there are a lot of departments that need to be cut completely. NASA and the Department of Education are two fine examples. You can try to cut out cancer by removing one cell at a time, or you can kill the entire mass. The choice is yours, and a businessman is just the person to get the job done.